So this so-called genius psychologist is about to make two innocent twin boys do the unthinkable, all to prove a twisted experiment he cooked up in his head. Now, before we get into the video, if you have bad anger issues, I would advise you check other videos on my channel, because in a few minutes, you are going to witness the most horrible and inhumane act ever done to a child. Now, everybody, meet our main character, Dr. John Money. He was a rock star psychologist at the prestigious Johns Hopkins University in the 1960s. He was charming, influential, and a highly respected psychologist at the university. But John had a big problem. He had this theory he was absolutely married to, a theory he had been hawking for years. This man believed that gender, our sense of being a man or a woman, is all based on nurture and not nature, meaning it's all about how you're raised, not what you're born with. He believed if you raise a boy as a girl, he'll grow up believing he is a girl, and he wanted to share that ideology with the world so badly. But here's the problem. No one believed him or his theory. His peers thought he was a lunatic in a lab coat. They considered his theories unscientific, his proof non-existent, and that wounded his ego deeply. So, desperate to prove his theory right, he waited, hoping an opportunity would fall in and he would prove himself not only to his peers, but to the entire world. And as fate would have it, in 1965, in Winnipeg, Canada, that perfect opportunity walked into his office. This young couple, Janet and Ron Reimer, gave birth to twin boys, Bruce and Brian. They were healthy, happy, and identical in every way. But when the twins were just a few months old, a terrible disaster took place. During a routine circumcision, Bruce's procedure went terribly wrong. His major reproductive organ was accidentally destroyed by a malfunctioning device. The doctor used an electrocautery machine, basically a hot wire, which malfunctioned and, well, it completely burned off his major reproductive organ. The parents were understandably shattered. They had no idea how their son could ever live a normal life. Then one day, they saw John Money on television confidently talking about gender identity and how boys could be raised as girls. Desperate and confused, the parents reached out to him. And that's where everything went downhill, because Dr. Money saw that as the perfect opportunity to prove and market his theory. When the parents came to him, he presented a radical solution, and that was to take what's left of Bruce in his private area, perform surgery to create female reproductive organs, then change his name to Brenda, give him female hormones, and just raise him as a girl. His pitch was basically, see, the kid will be fine. He'll never know the difference. It'll prove my whole theory. And the desperate parents, trusting the famous doctor, agreed. Bruce became Brenda. He was dressed in girls' clothes, given dolls to play with, and told he was a girl. Meanwhile, his brother Brian continued living as a boy. John Money, on the other hand, began publishing papers after papers, standing at conferences, and declaring the John Joan case a resounding success. He presented Brenda as a happy, well-adjusted girl, living proof that his theory was correct. But here is the most abominable part of this entire story. Every year, the twins would be brought to John Money's lab for checkups and therapy sessions. But these weren't ordinary therapy sessions. Money would force the children to do things to each other, things no child should ever be told to do, saying it was part of exploring their gender roles. Yes, you heard that right. He made school-age twin brothers do things they were never supposed to even know about at their age, and labeled it as part of his so-called research. And the worst part? He recorded them, took notes of their actions, documented everything, and called it science. He truly believed these twisted sessions were necessary to reinforce their gender identity. I'm so pissed right now. Here is the most painful part that would make you tear up. Behind the scenes, Brenda was miserable. She hated dresses, she refused to play with dolls, she was bullied for being a tomboy. She felt like a freak, an imposter in her own skin. She didn't know she was born a boy, she just knew something was fundamentally wrong. By the time Brenda hit her teens, things spiraled out of control. She became withdrawn, angry, and suicidal. The parents, realizing the damage, couldn't hold it in anymore and eventually told her the truth that she was actually born a boy. And immediately, Brenda rejected the female identity. He stopped taking estrogen, had reconstructive surgery, and began living as a man with a new name, David. He began hormone therapy to reverse the effects, changed his clothes, and tried to reclaim the boyhood he was denied, which of course made John Money's experiment a total, unmitigated, and catastrophic failure. David Reimer went public. teaming up with scientist Milton Diamond and journalist John Cullen Pinto to expose John Money's lies and the horrific reality of his childhood. The scientific community was stunned. The iconic case they'd all cited for years was a fraud, but the damage was irreversible. The trauma of the experiment, the surgeries, the deception left deep scars. A little boy who suffered a terrible accident was placed in the care of a man who saw him not as a patient to heal, but as a test subject to prove a point. David tried to live a normal life, at least for once in his life. But years of abuse and confusion had left deep scars. David struggled with identity, depression, and trust. Along the line, his brother Brian, who had been through the same trauma, developed severe mental health issues too. And in 2002, his brother Brian died from an overdose of antidepressants. And just 2 years later, in 2004, David took his own life with a gunshot wound. He was only 38 years old. Two brothers, two innocent boys destroyed because one man wanted to prove a theory. And John Money? He never apologized. He never admitted he was wrong. Until his death in 2006, he insisted the experiment was a success and that any problems later on were due to other environmental factors, not his intervention. So to get this straight, two innocent twins were left in the care of a reckless doctor who ended up destroying one of the twins' organs, then to the desperate parents who were so scared of the kids' future and wanted a quick solution and found their way to Dr. Money's office, who ended up leading the kids to their grave. Rounding this up, we can say the kids had a horrible life from the beginning of their existence until their demise. Oh my God. Rest in peace, Bruce and Brian. The world failed you. And if you are angry as I am, hit that subscribe button and voice your opinions in the comments. What a world.